Hello and welcome to a brief introduction of the Word equation editor. The equation editor can be found in the insert ribbon by clicking on the pi symbol. You could click the arrow, but then you'd get the standard equations, which you don't really need. So the pi symbol is what we need. We have two main parts here. We have the symbols and the structures. The symbols cover pretty much anything you can think of, so your basic symbols, Greek letters, letter-like symbols, other operators like less or equal, greater or equal, not equal, and so on. Arrows, if you want to use implies or equivalent. Scripts, if you want to use funny letters to describe sets or to highlight them, and some geometry and number theory symbols. The second part is the structures. I should probably set this to basic math. Second part is the structures, which talks about fractions, scripts, surds, and so on. You won't obviously need all of these for the sake of the coursework, but you will maybe use this later on if you're writing more advanced assignments. So the first thing that I want to point out about the equation editor is that it has two different ways of formatting your text. If you're typing an equation on its own line, say for example I want to type in a summation, so from k equals 1 to n of k squared, there you go, that looks like that and it's really pretty. We could also type in a fraction, 1/2. However, as soon as your text includes something else on the line that is not part of the equation, so even a simple space, notice how the formatting is changed. This is a word of warning. If you're doing things like I will solve the equation 2x plus 4x cubed, 4x cubed equals 0, then that's fine. It looks pretty much the same no matter what you do. So if I were to type this equation on its own line, nothing's changed. However, as you saw, the inline thing makes fractions and big summation symbols look a little bit dodgy, so be careful with that. The other thing to be careful about is this highlighting. If you notice, when I hover my mouse, it kind of highlights the whole equation. Same here. Notice that my k squared is highlighted, my 2 is highlighted now, my k is highlighted now, which refers to different parts of the equation. So now that everything is highlighted, it refers to the thing that I'm adding up, which is square numbers in this case. Whereas now, I will be editing the base of the index. Why does this matter? Well, not too much. It matters in the sense that you are formatting in different ways, so the brackets may not look quite right if you don't type in things where you should be typing them. However, you don't need to worry too much about it. Say you want to type, just make sure you're basically unhighlighted when you type in your next thing. Right, other shortcuts, or the shortcuts really. The main shortcut is how to access an equation without going to insert. That is Alt and equals. That will insert an equation automatically. And then let's look at some shortcuts for these ones, for the structures. If you're looking at fractions, that is simply the slash button, so 1/2, there you go, that's a fraction. Scripts, it's the hat for the power, and the underscore for the index. Now, the main thing you need to realize is that plus and equals in brackets are treated as separators. So if I type, say, x to the power of n plus 1, notice that the plus 1 didn't make it to the power. If I do want to put it there as a power, I will use brackets the correct way. And there you have it. The same applies for indices, xn plus 1 as an index. You can write quite quickly long expressions, so let's take an equation. X cubed plus 3x squared plus 5x minus 6 equal to 0. Say you want the Newton-Raphson iteration. We'll learn about that probably in a week or so. X index n plus 1, remember your bracket, equals x n minus, be careful, all your x's should be xn's when you do this, so I need to differentiate this and make sure that my x's are actually xn's. So that's 3xn squared plus 6xn plus 5 divided by, notice I've put the first expression in a bracket, open a bracket here, and then just put your expression. Well, you're thinking, I can select that, right click copy or Control C, paste it with Control V, and then I can go and add some indices because it saves time. Yes and no, and I will show you in a minute what the problem is if you do that. Once you press space, notice that there's this big gap between xn and the cube. This goes back to what I was saying about what is highlighted. I've changed the power, so now the base has an index and the whole thing has a power. Whereas here, if you notice when you highlight, the x is the base of both the index and the power. Now, you may prefer it in this way. Go ahead and prefer it that way and do it that way, but be consistent. Anyway, final enter, and there you have it, a nice-ish looking Newton-Raphson formula. And I think that pretty much covers the main things that I want to talk about. You can insert functions like sine, press space, and there you go, or cosine x, or log, and so on, but we don't really need them for the sake of coursework. Other things that you may need to use are shortcuts for symbols. Usually it's backslash, so all the shortcuts will start with a backslash, and then some key combination like infinity for infinity, backslash times for times, backslash div for divide, less or equal, greater or equal. You can also do this with Greek letters, so backslash alpha or phi will give those letters. Notice that they're small Greek letters because I started my word with the small letter. If I do alpha like this, it will be the capital Greek letter, and backslash phi gives me that. Where can you find these shortcuts, you ask? Well, there are two ways you can find them in. The way I found them initially was noticing that these shortcuts match the shortcuts in LaTeX, which is a math equation editor, and then I just basically Googled the specific symbol that I needed. You can also look up the symbols in math, and I usually do that in the image, search, and then you can see here a whole bunch of symbols that you may or may not need. If you want this specific one, you can obviously look it up as it is, and you might possibly find it like this. Let's see, is it here? Exists is there. I can't find therefore. It might just be that words, they're using a different meaning for it. But again, you could possibly find it. Stack Exchange has it. Once it loads up properly. But the main thing I would recommend you to find is this document that should be on the internet anyway. It's a big 24-page document on the equation editor and how to do a whole bunch of stuff, like the Greek letters, the special symbols, other fonts, subscripts, accents, and so on. If you scroll down at the end of the document, you will have a big table of stuff that you may need to know. There you go. / therefore gives me therefore. So that's my brief summary of word equations. Hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.